Welcome to Manzanar, Introduction to Japanese American Internment. By the end of this lesson, you should have a base knowledge for better understanding and expressing the effects of the bombing of Pearl Harbor on Asian and non-Asian populations. For this lesson, you will need the modified See, Think, Wonder worksheet that was handed out in class today. If you do not have it, please stop the video and get a copy. Last week we talked about the attack on Pearl Harbor by the nation of Japan. We discussed the immediate impact on Americans and the United States' entry into World War II. Today we're going to take a look at the extended effects of the Pearl Harbor attack on non-Asian Americans and Asian Americans, more specifically Japanese Americans. We will do so by examining Manzanar, which is one of 10 Japanese internment camps during World War II. The website that you will be using, Manzanar War Relocation Center, will give you some information about Manzanar that you can look at a later time if you want more information. Let's first look at the word internment. The word internment refers to the confinement or holding in one place of people. During World War II, Japanese Americans along the West Coast were interned or held in one place in camps by the United States government for fear that they might provide aid or information to the nation of Japan. Right, you will now need your worksheet, and you're going to be working in this first section of Overview, America's Shame. Remember, if you need to pause the video to write, you should do so, and if you need to return to the website information is on your worksheet. In the section America's Shame, we want to take a look at the environment that was created after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Look at the fear and distrust that were on both sides. So, on December 7, 1941, Japanese planes launched 2 attacks on Pearl Harbor, leaving 2,403 people dead and destroying U.S. planes and battleships. The following day, President Roosevelt asked Congress for a declaration of war against Japan. Japanese Americans felt the repercussions or the effects over the following weeks. They were fired from government jobs, had their cameras and shortwave radios confiscated. U.S. Supreme Court Justice Owen J. Roberts accused Japanese Americans in Hawaii of helping the Japanese to attack Pearl Harbor. Newspapers reported widely of suspected Japanese American sabotage. So you can see how the bombing of Pearl Harbor led to an environment of fear and distrust. Can you think of other times in America's history where a people group was targeted because others feared or distrusted them based on their origin? Take a look at the images. Japs keep moving. This is a white man's neighborhood. Or the Japanese American mom, dad, little girl, and little boy. No Japs wanted. Look at the condition of their windows or where their windows used to be. How would you feel if this happened to your family? How would you feel if it happened to your friend's family? And look at the last image. Me Chinese, please, no Japanese. Right. I'll need you to pause the video as you go back to your worksheet and fill out the first section. Again, what did you see? What did you read? What is the main idea of the section? What were you thinking about, and how did the images and text make you feel? And what questions do you have about the events, people, or context? Please pause your video as you review this section. All right, let's now move on to the next section, Executive Order 9066 and the accompanying newspaper articles. Again, you'll be reading, stating what you think or feel, and any questions you might have. Executive Order 9066. On February 19, 2.5 months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, authorizing the Secretary of War to prescribe certain areas, like those along the West Coast, as military zones, and making it possible for Japanese Americans to be removed from their homes and relocated to internment camps. We're going to take a look at some of the articles that were in print at that time. So the order was signed on February 19, and this article is from March 23, 1942. Large-scale evacuation Japanese aliens and their American-born children from strategic Pacific Coast military and industrial areas began today as a caravan of 350 autos and trucks left Pasadena for the Army's new reception center east of the Sierra Nevadas. What words in that first paragraph are strange to you? What do they mean to you? Do you have any questions? Did you notice that the children are going as well? Let's skip down to the fourth paragraph. Each evacuee wore an identifying card on his lapel and carried a ditty bag stuffed with personal effects. Many of the American-born youths wore sweaters indicating recent participation in high school and college sports. Are there any words you don't understand? Write those down. Remember to pause the video. What about American-born youths wore sweaters indicating recent participation in high school and college sports? If they're American-born, why were they being placed in the Japanese internment camps? Dozens of added travelers dashed up to the assembly point in taxicabs at the last moment. There were brief family reunions with wives and children who had come to the Rose Bowl to see their menfolk off for the camp at Manzanar. Nearly 200 of the vehicles were operated by the evacuees. I've skipped down if you didn't notice. They represented all types of jalopies, dilapidated pickup trucks, opening touring cars, cut-downs in collegiate style, and one Model T Ford. Let's take a look at another article. This one is, it doesn't show the date here, it was from the next day. And I want to specifically look at, well, let's take a look here. FBI and police raiding parties were operating again in the Bay Area today, while hundreds of San Francisco Japanese were being given instructions for their evacuation Tuesday to the reception center at Manzanar. Now think about the word reception. Have you ever been to a reception? What does that word usually imply? Look at raiding parties, and Japanese were being given instructions for their evacuation. Think about the word internment. Did the Japanese Americans have a choice of whether they would be evacuated or not? For the first time, third paragraph, for the first time since alien roundups were started, raiders this morning visited the University of California campus and took into custody Miss Fumi Asazumi, 32, of 2022 Dwight Way, Berkeley, an art student. She was arrested on a presidential warrant at the request of the FBI in Los Angeles. The warrant, like many others served on aliens taken into custody, branded Miss Asazuma as potentially dangerous. Think about what made her dangerous to the people who arrested her or to the FBI. Continuing in that paragraph, she said she was a native of Japan, studied art there formerly was a language teacher at Hawthorne near Los Angeles and was the daughter of a retired banker. Pause the video if you need to make your notes. The last article we're going to look at, I do need to go back and get the date for that. Right, that's from April 18, so a little bit less than a month after the evacuation began. 3,000 more Los Angeles Japs to be sent to Manzanar Center. I don't think I mentioned earlier that the word Japs, although short for Japanese, is a derogatory term, meaning it has negative implications. Orders directing the evacuation of approximately 3,000 Japanese from Los Angeles County to the Manzanar Reception Center in Owens Valley were issued by Lieutenant General J.L. DeWitt today. This evacuation, to take place between April 20 and April 28, will bring a total of more than 6,000 the Japanese placed in Owens Valley, according to Army officials. Army instructions to evacuees direct a responsible person for each family and any individual living alone to report to a civil control station in his district to receive instructions and assistance in the settlement of his affairs. Let's go ahead and finish up the last section. Pause the video if you need to. Right, as we finish up Executive Order 9066 and move to our last section, which is videos. We're going to watch a video, Su Kunitomi Embry, Security Measures. Most of the videos on this page, if you view them later, have direct links. However, this one we're going to get to from an embedded page. While you are listening to this, you need to complete the section on what do you hear? What are you feeling or thinking while you're listening to her? What do you wonder? What are your questions?
Well, in the beginning, there were no barbed wire fences. There were sentries that were walking around the boundary lines. But after the camp was built, 36 blocks of barracks, they put a 5-strand barbed wire fence all around the residential area of the camp. There were 8 guard towers, 1 in each corner, and that's 4, and then 4 in the middle, which is about halfway. Each of them were occupied by an American soldier, and a searchlight at night, and a rifle, or machine gun, I guess, with live ammunition. And they guarded the camp by day and by night. And at night, they would turn the searchlights on, and whenever anybody opened the door of their barrack to go somewhere, go out, the searchlights would follow. I remember going out one night, and the searchlight followed me all the way to the latrine. When I came out from the latrine, it followed me all the way back to my room. And I think everyone remembers those searchlights in every camp. Now, I had heard that some of the camps, they had both the barbed wire fence and the searchlights and the guard towers removed after about a year, but I don't know. Manzanar was not, because we were in the restrictive zone, and so the security was quite tight.
In the section Videos, Su Kunitomi Embry, Security Measures, please go ahead and finish your notes. Once you have finished or completed this worksheet, Bring the completed chart to class. You will receive a grade for the chart, and you will need the information for small group participation. Now that you've finished the lesson, remember that you have the website address for this LibGuide, so you can go to it yourself and take a look at the encyclopedias and the websites that offer information and images about Japanese internment. You may also want to look at some of the other videos that are available, or you may want to read some of the poetry that was created by survivors who went back to Manzanar at a later time. Or you may want to look at the 2 PowerPoints that are available. And lastly, there are oral histories available. All right, I will see you back in class tomorrow. Please remember to bring your worksheet, and I look forward to seeing you then.